So I'd like to talk a little bit about how you first came to love film.
I got into film because I had an artist in my family who no one recognized as an artist, no one encouraged to be an artist, never practiced art, but my Aunt Denise Amanda Sexton had an artist's heart. And she grew up, was born in Compton in 1950. In South Central in 1950, grew up in Compton, went to Dominguez High School in Compton. And, the family did not encourage her to do all of the things that she had in her heart. Afraid for her, wanting her to be okay in this world. And so she went to nursing school, and so she became a nurse. And she worked the night shift at hospitals all around Southern California for decades so that she could leave her days open to live the life that she wanted to live and experience art. So she became a huge patron of the arts, plays, book readings, and music and movies most of all. And so her love of art.
How many of you are currently living a life like that, where you want to do something more with your life, but you don't quite understand or know how to make it happen?
Art. When I think about her, as I've had to process her passing in the last 10 years, I think about all that she might have done if she had been encouraged to actually practice art. But she found joy in patronizing it, and she passed that along to me. And so early on, we would do things that, most people in Compton weren't doing. My mother, who did not understand, who I loved dearly, was an amazing woman, was just like, oh, go with Denise to read white people books and go to white people concerts. So we would go do white people stuff. Book readings, you know what I mean? Or the play in downtown LA that seems so far from where we live, right? I mean, because it was another world away, Minutes-wise, it's a half hour. But no one's going to downtown to see a play, really. You don't feel welcomed there. There's no connection.
Right.
So the fact that Denise found those connections just based on her pure love of art and the interest is something that, as I interrogate now, is pretty phenomenal. But within that, she loved movies. And so every week after school, on one particular day when there was cheap matinees, we would go and see movies. I would go in one and she would go in another, or we would go together. If it was an R movie, I would see my own, but it was a constant diet of film, both on television and through video and through the theatrical experience. And it was a magical time because I fell in love with the images, but also, as I think about it more deeply, it's because I got to spend time with her. And it was offered to me with such love that now it's really the love of my life, that experience and creating that experience for other people.
And so I knew you in a kind of previous part of your career. You had a PR company that you founded and ran, and you said that you were going to. We had a conversation once, and you said, "Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I'm going into directing." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I had no idea that you were interested in film.
Right.
And then the next thing I see is like this documentary that you've done. My mic sounds nice.
Oh, right. Gosh, we've known each other a really long time.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
This is your first documentary on women in hip hop.
Yeah. It was the second film I ever made. It was the first film that anyone ever gave me any money to make. So the first documentary I made was a film called This Is the Life about. Wow, I need one person. Look, props. Come on. This is going underground, deep down. Yes, thank you. You saw it too? Okay, too. I like that movie. It was made by hand for $10,000, check to check. It was when I first was saying, gosh, can I make films? Can I try to do this? Never went to film school, didn't pick up a camera until I was 32. I had a job, I was a publicist. And I thought, let me not embarrass myself. Let me try to see if I can make something on weekends and put something together and see how it feels to do it. Right, to practice art in that way, and if it's even well received. And so it was just the baby steps to get up to a certain moment. I think a lot of people see Selma and like, oh wow, she came from nowhere. But it was really a lot of steps to try to test myself and test how much I can tolerate in an industry that really is not built for me.
Talk more about this. You said in an industry that wasn't made for you. And that's the thing, I think, even in kind of having conversations with you over the years, how you, one, conceived of a way to get your foot in the door, and then secondly, having gotten in the door, opened the door for so many other people. And we could talk about that a lot, but this was, not really heard of when you decided.
I love the fact that she is not only about herself, she will open doors for other people. I want to personally meet this woman.
To have all female directors for a season of Queen Sugar. And so talk to me a little bit about this, about that process of kind of getting into a place that, as you say, was not made for you, and then creating opportunities for other people.
Well, I work in an industry, if we take the industry side of things, not the actual work that I do, but the industry that monetizes that work, is built. I work in an industry built on the back of the film A Birth of a Nation. That is the film that started the whole industry, upon which the studio system and a real thought about, wow, you can create critical mass around a piece of work, and a real kind of peeping game by the very beginnings of an industry at that time of what it meant to make films and to be able to actually change hearts and minds with film, and how deeply and emotionally people were connecting to the moving image at that time, right? I mean, this is before many innovations that we would eventually see, but for someone to see the emotional connection that people were having with that product of film, and then to create industry around it, the film that was done with is A Birth of a Nation. So inherently, in all the thoughts about the architecture and the business you put around something like that, it is attracting a certain mind, right? A certain type of, I mean, it was an industry made by white men, for white men, to make things for white men. That's what the industry is, and, unfortunately, a lot of that residue is embedded in the very structure of where we work. I think the thing that made a difference for me in getting into the industry is I wasn't looking to get into the industry. So when I started, I didn't go to film school. I started when I was a 32-year-old black woman who was a publicist for other people's movies. And I really did it for the pure love, like Denise in my head. Like, I just love movies so much. So when I started to say, you know what, I'm going to work my day job, this agency that supports other filmmakers. And it was enough for me. I really started making that first film, This Is the Life, or when BET gave me some money to make a film. I was like, wow, this is going to be a real film, with money from other people. I don't have to pay from check to check. I wasn't an intention of, one day I just want that Oscar, if I can just get that. I don't know anything about Oscar. I was just trying to make my thing and tell my stories, and just wanted to see if I could craft what I loved. So that was the first film. The first 2 docs were that. The second, my first narrative film was a film called I Will Fall. I made for $50,000. $50,000. I had been saving that money for a house. My mother, I love her. Her name is Darlene. If anybody meets Darlene May, walk up to her, give her a big hug and kiss. She's the most amazing woman. But whoa, did she nag me about a house. By the time I was 25, I had a house, and I just don't understand. It's a different generation, but hey, have you looked at the house? And, I saw a house, and you're just like, ah! And so you start saving for the house. I'm like, I'm just going to save for this house, and I said, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to buy this house, and I should have that, and she will stop bugging me about the house. And somewhere along the way, after I'd made the BET film, I thought, God, I should just make a film, just try it. Just try it. I'm just going to use this money and make the film. So I didn't buy the house, I bought a career instead, I say, and now I'm buying her house. But that's what I told her when I bought her house.
Determined to meet this woman. The reason why is because earlier this year of 2024, I released my book that sold on Amazon. I want to understand what she went through to get to where she is currently at now, and what steps I need to do to follow. Let me know what do you think about this video in the comments. Let's have a discussion.